Hi, I'm Stacey Hoppus. Joining me today is Ken Welch, President and co-founder of Coalition for Better Wallingford. Ken, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me, Stacey.
Of course.
Glad to be here.
Thanks. So why don't you start off with a little bit of a reintroduction for the community of what the Coalition is and what it does for the community.
So we basically are the community.
Okay.
I think a lot of people think we're a group that kind of does stuff and they wait for us to do it, and but really we're an open organization, nonprofit.
Okay.
We're located at 136 Center Street downtown.
Yep.
And we have monthly meetings, and anybody is welcome.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, right now we're actively looking for board members.
Okay.
Trying to rejuvenate what we do. So our purpose in the community is twofold. One, to educate and do preventative things.
Okay.
So kind of awareness, drug awareness. When we got started, there was a scourge of overdose deaths.
Okay.
Back in 2010, 11, and 12.
Okay.
And one of them happened to be my stepdaughter. That's what got us involved.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But part of, my wife and I decided that part of her legacy should be that we make a difference.
Right.
So the first part was to educate, as I said, and create an awareness of the problem.
Right.
Because even though it was happening, people were either ignoring it or didn't want to hear about it.
Right.
So for the first few years, that's pretty much all we did was, scare the hell out of people because heroin was on the streets of Wallingford.
Right.
And then we started to understand that if you're going to do preventive work in the community, that there was another piece to that, and that was to do some harm reduction stuff and to increase the protective factors, make families stronger, make kids more resilient, help parents with some parenting skills and some interactive skills, increase make the neighborhoods a little stronger so that people were interacting more freely.
Right.
And the more we looked into the drug problem, the more we realized that it was a very broad-based cause. So mental health issues, depression, anxiety. We were part of a group that got a survey approved by the Board of Ed.
Okay.
And we've done it every other year 3 times now, and we're slated to get it done again.
Okay.
And we use the data from that survey to really drive what we're doing.
Okay.
So for 5-6 years, we were talking to organizations and trying to get a feel for what the police department does, what the fire department does, what's their role in these crisis moments.
Right.
And are there any gaps in what they do? Just start that conversation. Because even though they were seeing this stuff, for instance, the police department didn't carry Narcan when we got started.
Yeah.
So we were talking to them about the benefits, and that was an educational process. Now everybody carries Narcan.
Absolutely.
And we offer it free.
Okay.
At our office. So it's a little controversial in that people feel that if we put it out there and the users know it's there, they'll use more freely. That's the controversy.
Right.
But right now we don't have a lot of tools to save lives, and we're still losing people.
Right.
And that's a difficult thing to quantify, except that if you're young enough and you die suddenly or untimely, which are code words in obituaries for a potential overdose death.
Right. Or even suicide.
Or suicide.
Right.
Yeah, so suicide is now in our bailiwick. So the first 5-6 years, we were talking to a lot of organizations and trying to see what was being done and see if we could improve that by having conversations about best practices that we were introducing from other communities around the country. And I think we pretty much exhausted that. We still have those conversations. By exhausting it, I mean we're not really a gadfly with it anymore. I don't think people are afraid to talk to us.
Right.
Because they've bought into the fact that we have to do the best we can, and it's never going to be good enough because people are still dying.
Right.
So now our role is more of a programming. So we're looking for ways to bring programs to the community, and that requires volunteers, frankly.
Right.
One of the things that we now have is 2 certified instructors for QPR training.
Okay. And what is QPR?
QPR is question,
Persuade.
and refer.
Right.
I always struggle with that.
Me too.
But basically, it's suicide awareness and education. What do you do when when you think they're suicidal,
Right, showing
or have that
signs.
tendency, showing signs?
Right.
So we now have 2 certified instructors. We're going to have regular classes.
Right.
We will offer them to anybody. We'll even spend time with a family member or somebody who isn't aware
Right.
that there is a procedure that is most effective.
And that teaches them what to look for and teaches them like more about the things to watch out for. And because if you don't know what to look for, then
Yeah.
you don't know what the signs are.
Exactly.
Right.
So in the survey, one of the alarming pieces of information in the survey is the high percentage of high schoolers that are thinking about suicide and have already attempted it.
Wow.
In 2017, if we were to take that aggregate number, it's somewhere between 140 and 150 kids in town.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah, that's very shocking.
Except if you look a little further into the problem, you'll see that just last year we were the 2nd ranked per capita suicide community in the state, and have been for the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh wow.
So in addition to our high overdose death problem, we've got this suicide issue.
Right.
So a couple of pretty serious problems that everybody in the country is struggling with.
Right.
And I think that I'm looking down the road at the things that we're talking about doing, and I think Wallingford is really going to make a real dent in this.
Nice.
I get asked all the time why you think the number is as high as it is. I think there's 2 reasons for that. The single biggest reason is that we're reporting it, we're acknowledging it, we've accepted it, and we're trying to do something about it.
Right.
And that's key, and that's why I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve.
Right.
I don't think there's a whole lot of people that wanted the coalition on Main Street or on Center Street with a big billboard that said, what we did, what we
Right.
do. And yet now we're doing things like we have Jam Sesh every 2nd or 3rd Tuesday. I think it's 3rd Tuesday of the month.
Okay. And that's like an open mic session?
It's an open mic session for families and kids.
Okay.
We took the summer off, and the last one we did, we had over 50 people at.
Oh, wow.
So we throw pizza on the table and water and soda, and we have Rob and Terry,
Yeah.
who run it for us.
Okay.
And it's acoustic guitar, and lots of instruments. Musicians show up.
Right. And kids can come in and sing songs
And they
or do poetry.
Families come. They
Yeah.
tell jokes.
And it's all a free program.
It's all free.
Right.
Everything we do is free.
Awesome.
The town has been good enough. The town council, the health department, and Craig's office, Youth and Social Services, have
Yeah.
all been extremely supportive of the stuff we do. And we get enough funding to keep the doors open and pay the lights and have the place.
Right.
So that gives us a good start. And then there's organizations like the synagogue and the Zion Lutheran Church that do fundraisers.
Okay.
We have during the Christmas stroll,
Okay.
we have a festival of trees, and that generates. Last year, I think it generated over $5,000.
Wow, that's
It's
amazing.
phenomenal.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we have enough funding to start doing this program and doing some training, and so that's what we're doing.
Right.
We've got a nice core of young volunteers now.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter being one,
Right.
and she's a big recruiter, Samantha.
Yeah.
So we're glad to have her on board. But there's that 30-something person with young families.
Right.
Victoria Schumann just joined us as our prevention coordinator and program director out of the
Awesome.
office, who's
Yeah.
got roots in this community.
Yeah.
Young family.
Yeah.
So it's exciting times for us, and that's why we're talking about increasing the board and getting active in maybe some areas where we aren't.
Okay. Now you had brought up you do the jam sesh, but you also have
Yes.
paint nights and you have movie nights,
Right.
and you're part of so many different activities and events that happen down in the center of town.
Yep.
there's the Celebrate Wallingford. You
Yes.
guys are part of that. I know that you do a huge booth with passports and everything else. So it's amazing the amount of work that you guys do in town, and I want to make sure that people know about it.
Yes. Well, on the Grind It Out support resources side of things, we have a hope and support group for families who are dealing with an active addict.
Okay.
That meets every Monday night at the Yalesville United Methodist Church at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We have a bereavement group that meets once a month with Phyllis Gordon in the center of town.
Okay.
And through the conversations with Craig, there is now a suicide bereavement group set up
Wonderful.
with Karen Kaplan. And she'll be joining us for various events.
Nice.
But again, on the family side, we've got a number of, these kids are unbelievable. They're constantly coming up with stuff. Their energy is endless.
That's great.
Last year, in a 6-month period, we did 150 events, counting the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, the meetings at the office, the presentations that we do. Mm-hmm. We've got a number of presentations that create awareness, and a Champions for Youth program where we're trying to get people to understand how important it is to have adult mentors in their life.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to talk about all of it because it's just so much. I start talking and it's like, oh yeah, we're doing this one now.
And you guys are also part of the Wallingford Health Alliance 2020?
There's one, that's a huge one. So yes, we are. The Wallingford Health Alliance 2020 is a group of like-minded wellness organizations.
Yep.
Some of them nonprofit like us, some of them just providing health resources in town. They get together and talk about what that should look like to Wallingford in 2020.
Right.
It's now being driven by the health department and Alexis Steele and Steve Civitelli,
Yep.
which is tremendous.
Yes.
We just held Community Day, and the purpose behind Community Day was to let people know that we're there,
Yeah.
that we don't want this to be a group of people that got together, wrote a document, put it on a bookshelf, and forgot about it.
Right.
It's got to be a living plan that actually helps families and helps the community get better.
Wonderful.
And that's what that was about. And there were hundreds of people that showed up for the first one.
Awesome.
So tremendous
It'll be there
success.
again next year.
Yeah, it really was great.
Well, we actually just have a few more minutes left, and I know that you definitely want to talk about businesses.
Yes.
And
So we're starting a program where we are going to train business owners to administer Narcan.
okay.
And they get a placard that they'll put on the front of their store that lets people know that they have Narcan available.
Yeah.
And they are trained to administer it. And we have high hopes for that.
Okay.
So our feeling is that the more that gets out there, people are going to know what it does. They're not going to be afraid of it.
Right.
We'll normalize the fact that it is a very valuable resource.
Right.
The DEMIS, Department of Mental Health Services, has a big ad campaign now. Naloxone is the active ingredient in Narcan, and it has a serious side effect.
Right.
It saves lives.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's all it does. You could give it to your cat, and it's inert unless you're dying from a heroin overdose.
Right.
So
There's no side effects if you're not
no side effects otherwise.
on the influence.
So, right or wrong, we're trying to flood the streets with it and get people on board because it does save lives. You can talk to the fire department or the police department or the state police, anybody now.
Right.
Pretty much acknowledge that this is the single biggest tool that we've got in this fight.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right. And once again, I'm Stacey Hoppus, and I'll see you around town.